Feel like on their video. You can turn your videos on if you feel like it.
Yes, we want to see your faces if you like.
Love to see your faces.
Okay.
Hey.
I'm going to make sure everybody is muted except, of course, for Vera. Because Vera needs to be able to talk. Okay. Welcome to Meet the Author. There she is. There's our author.
Hey, everybody. Hello. Good morning.
Okay.
Good night.
Vera, as we get started here, your first question is, what are you working on now?
Okay, and here we go, because that's the big question. I think everybody wants me to be saying we're working on Eos, which is the prequel series, book number 1. And that's what's happening right now. But before that, before we can get to Eos, I had to do a couple of other things which were happening all this fall and winter. And we had the 10th anniversary of the Atlantis Grail. Can you believe it? 10 years since the first book, Qualify, came out, which was back in 2014. I believe it was December. So that's when the first tag hit the appeared. And then after that, we had, of course, compete, I believe, in the very next couple of years. So, but the 10th anniversary deserved a special thing. So we came up with a special edition, and we're going to be having the special edition is a hardcover with fancy features, and we'll talk about those later because we have a special panel coming up about special editions. But basically, to commemorate the book, it's not just the hardcover, it's a fancy hardcover, and it's oversized, and the same treatment will happen to all the other books in the series. So you're going to have a special edition compete, win, survive, and so on and so forth. But with that out of the way, then another thing had to be done, and that was my decision to release the Atlantis Grail adjacent book series called Amrevet Days, which is a very different book from the original. Now, before I go on, I have a cat situation here. Pumpkin, come here. I have the cat sitting on the computer. So pardon me, everyone. I need to get this cat out of here. 1 second. Come here, Pumpkin. Come here, Pumpkin. Come on, Pumpkin. Come on. Come on, Pumpkin. Yes, Pumpkin. Here we go. That's a pumpkin, everyone. This had to be done because Pumpkin got on the computer. So the prerequisite cat interruption has happened, and we can go on. As I was saying, before we can get into Eos, I had to do Amrevet Days, which is a very different type of book series. It is very spicy, and we will talk about spice levels in a minute, but it is something that is not really appropriate for the general readership of the Atlantis Grail, which is the standard. It's a general audience, young adult, completely, nothing really out of the ordinary. Amrevet Days is it is completely spicy, and it has some things that are, revelations about the things to come in the Book of Everything, which will be coming in the 5th book of the Atlantis Grail. It also has some other things, but those things are actually relevant to the prequel series. So it gives you little fun nuggets, but those nuggets are interspersed with really spicy honeymoon activities between Gwen and Nathan. So unless you're 18 plus, you don't want to be reading this because it's just not appropriate. It's a different type of book series. And some people have asked, why did I, write this type of thing? Because that's not normal tag. Normal tag is YA appropriate. Well, because of you guys, a lot of readers right now like spicy things. And they have been asking me, there have been individual messages, comments, posts over the years saying, can we get a little bit more spice? Can we get more things going between Gwen and Asen? And I was thinking, well, this is not really going to work. We can't, for example, in Survive, this guy right here, I don't know if you can see the cover. There we go, Survive. This book it had some moments. We had the actual wedding, right? We had the kind of intimate stuff, but it wasn't really explicit because that's not the kind of level it is. This is again, general audience level. We can still have tension and kind of, exciting, things that are happening between the two people, romantic, but it's not explicit. So a lot of you have been begging and asking and saying things in the comments, and it builds up because I read your comments. I see them. You guys on Facebook, on other platforms, you tell me that you want to see this type of thing between the main characters. So I had to do this, and I started to post this on my Patreon and Ream. These are two serialization platforms where you post like a chapter, serialize one chapter at a time, and you just basically your readers support you as you're writing it. So I said, this is just a project for people who want it. It is absolutely not required. You don't want to be reading it if you don't like spice, if you don't like that kind of level of spice. And just skip it. Don't bother with it. You're not going to miss much. You will miss maybe some kind of in-depth looks at the couple, but it's not going to ruin the story for you. So anyway, that was out of the way. I decided to release this long book because it's going to be a long serialized book in volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I said, I'm going to make it into a short novel. It's not really short compared to some other people. Because I write really long books. For me, that's a short book, but it's a normal sized other author's book. So I said, I'm just going to start releasing them now because there is not really a cliffhanger. It doesn't matter. And get that out there to people who don't want to be on my Patreon or Ream because that's, some people don't want to do subscription. So I just released it, and the next volume, which is going to be Amitabh Days 2, will be coming out in several more, maybe towards the end of the year. But I'm going to be, again, continuing to serialize it on my Ream and Patreon so that if you want, you can go ahead and read them there right now. Like in the next month, I'll post the next chapter. So that's out of the way. And in the meantime, because I want to have everybody happy with what you're getting from me, we're going back to Eos, which is my main thing. And that's very close to being done. But because of all these other things I had to do, it got, again, delayed. And, this book has been going on for several years now. It's late. We know that. But now this is priority 1. So literally in the next few weeks, I'm going to be done with it because everything else is done. It's out of the way. We don't have to worry about the 10th anniversary and so on. So my main focus is on Eos, and the reason it's taking so long, and I think I've went into this before, but I have to reference all the things that came before. For example, any detail in the original 4 series, I have to go back and verify. So I can't just say something new that doesn't relate to anything in it. It has to be cross-checked because things are completely based on each other. They're playing off each other. So a lot of really fun things you're going to be discovering. For example, in book 1, Qualify of the Atlantis Grail, okay? We know what happens in the finals. We have the tunnel network, and we have people flying through these weird, creepy tunnels which get flooded over, right? Remember all that nightmare that they went through? Well,
That's the international tunnels.
right. Those are the cross inter not just international, but intercontinental. They go all the way. But you're going to understand what the heck those tunnels are because we get to explore them in the ancient days, and you will find out more about them. What are these tunnels? What's inside them? Why, like who built them, and so on and so on. So you have to cross-reference things in the original, and it takes time. So I can't just rattle off this book and say, here you go, here's more adventure in the ancient days. No, it has to be cross-referenced. So because of that, it's very time consuming. So we're at a point where we have, a lot of it, most of it is written for right now. It's 133,000 words at this point, approximately, which is about 400 something pages, close to 500 now. So the book will be comparable to Qualify. It's big. It's a big book, but we're going to cover a lot of the kind of preparations for leaving Earth. So they're not going to quite leave Earth yet. That's in the second book. But you will see all the buildup. You will understand what the heck is going on in ancient Atlantis, the politics, the different, the powerful rulers. For example, remember the ancient imperator who was the ruler of the day? His name was Churu, and they called him Blessed Churu was the imperator. So you will see him. You, of course, will also see Arlenari, the princess, and you will find out what's the situation there. And you will, of course, meet Semi. Semi is the main character, and Semi is the scribe, or you will find out what else Semi is in the books. There's a lot of things happening. So you will be discovering all these things. And as you read, you'll go, oh, I remember something referenced in the Survive, or something referenced in Qualify. So back and forth, it is very much a resonant thing. So it's very close to being done. It's coming up to some really exciting passages, and I don't want to give it too much of it away, but some of you have been reading along, and you know what's happening on Patreon and on Ream, because the book is also being posted there. I have two. I have two. The basic level, which is you get all the general audience books, and then you have the next level and up. You get the kind of the spicy books like Amrevedes and so on. But people at the basic level, you have been getting so far. You're getting a lot, and we're going to be cutting this off, not cutting off the posting, but I'm going to be writing really quickly, really fast, and putting up a lot of chapters. So you will probably get the rest of them on Ream after the release. So you're not going to get them as we're going along all the way, because I'm going to go faster than posting schedule. So that's coming up, and I was aiming for the end of this month, and it still could happen. So watch yourself, because this book is huge. That's another big book. And if you're concerned about spice levels, don't be. This is not that type of book. So we're going back to the original level of spice, or non-spice in Qualify, Compete, Win, and Survive. You do have some moments of tension, obviously, and there's some points in Compete. In Survive, they're sort of, kind of very close, spicy, not completely explicit, but there's some things. But not even in this book, in EOS, I don't think you're getting anything like that. So yeah, you're clear. So don't worry.
So far we haven't. And as far as Survive, Compete and Survive was probably a 0.5 on the spicy scale.
Actually, the spicy scale, let me go ahead and thank you for bringing this up, Nancy, because there is in the current publishing industry, you have levels of spicy or intimate, highly intimate stuff, and they have changed considerably over the decades. If you go back to the 70s, 80s, and 90s, levels of spice that are included in Amreva Days would be considered like 5 top, high spice, very, close to being kind of, But right now, that level is maybe around 3 on the scale. So right now, contemporary definitions of spice have expanded considerably. And some of the spice people read, including things like dark romance, include a lot of assault, abuse, violence, really, really extreme things, and kink, and things that we're not, not vanilla stuff, very, very extreme stuff. And that's a part of the standard of the genre, and I don't go there. So if you're worried about Amreva Days being that type of dark, with assault and violence, no. This is all consensual.
Violence, yes. Sexual violence, no.
No. Well, violence, not even no, because it's a cozy book. Amreva Days has no violence. There's no violence whatsoever. There's some violence in the general series, but that's normal, like action adventure violence. Things like running, people shooting at each other. That's normal. What I'm talking about, violence in the sexual relations between people. That is part of the genre in dark fantasy, in dark romance. I don't go there. You don't have to worry about non-consensual, really, kink level stuff. I don't do that. So if you're concerned about me taking Gwen and Ace in their date, no, it's just married people engaging in married people things. So, but it's pretty explicit because that's the kind of level we wanted to go for. It is about three chili peppers, maybe 3.5 to 4 maximum. 4 and 5 and above, that's when you start getting the weird things. Weird as in, I'm not judging anyone because readers love that stuff. Right now, the fastest growing genre in publishing is dark romance. If you believe it or not, that's why when people say, why is it, how can you even write this? I don't. Mine are pretty vanilla. It's pretty kind of, tame compared to what's actually being read and written right now. So we'll talk more about that because I don't want to go, but I just want to give you the sense of where we are at. And with Amreva Days, you're at about 3. With the original series, you're at like 1, That's how much spice, meaning almost nothing, that's the original level of qualify, compete, win, survive. But when you start going to now 2 and 3, 3 is approximately where Amreva Days is. And in the industry, a lot of books famous books like A Court of Thorns and Roses or Akatar, which is very famous on Book Talk. It's a popular book. That would be like a 4. Okay, so that level is more like a 4 or 4.5. And even that's not super spicy. I mean, the kind of, if you're not familiar with what's being published right now, let me just say you will be in for a shock. You will have your head blown off by, oh my goodness, the kinds of things you will be reading. So that's not what we're doing. Do not worry. I want to give you upfront that I guarantee you there will be no non-consensual stuff, nothing extreme, and that's only for Amreva Days. That's when you get a little spicy extra, up to 3 chili pepper levels. That's Amreva Days. Everything else is standard, general audience, appropriate for all audience stuff. So hope that explains it. And we'll get more into that in the other panel.
Vera, of course, Ace in Blue and Ace in Black was in Acen's point of view. And one chapter of Amreva Days was from Acen's point of view. Will there be different points of view in the future books, such as Eos, Dea, and so forth?
Exactly. That's a great question because as you're well aware, we have Gwen's point of view all through the series. It's just Gwen all the way until you get to the novellas when you switch to Aeson, and then Amreva Days, you had 1 chapter of Aeson and you will have more surprise chapters with Aeson. Now, in the prequel series, the point of view in the first book is Semi. Semi is the main character in the first book. Now, This is going to change because we have so many important characters. We have the Princess Arlenari, which is a huge character. She will have points of view, but despite her being one of the really big characters, she doesn't get her own book. It just, that's the way how things work out. So she will get point of view chapters, and she will have in the last book of the series, of the prequel series that is called Starlight, she and Gwen will have alternating chapters. So this is a big spoiler for you. You're going to have two alternating points of view, Gwen and Arlenari, and that to explain how that happens, I can't, because that's more spoilers, but this is already a kind of a big spoiler for you. So
That's a super spoiler.
it's a super spoiler, but that's okay, because you're not, it's really convoluted. So to explain how that happens, you will get, so super spoiler, you will get 2 points of view. Now, you will have other characters appearing as POV. For example, the main lead, the male romantic lead, sort of not Asen, but like an equivalent, kind of an equivalent to Asen, will be, I think we're going to have one of him either alternating or a whole book with his point of view. And that's going to be Nyctos. But again, I'm not quite there, because as I'm writing along, I'm deciding whose POV will take over. So unlike the original series with one POV, Gwen, you're going to get a mixture of different POVs in this series. And in some ways it's easier because you will get to know these people really in depth. And when you go into their POV, you go, oh my goodness, this is why and how so-and-so is doing things. So starting out with Semi, which is the main character in Eos, and you will find out why. And then you will, and you already have met Arlenari, the princess, and all the other ancient imperial Cassiopeia people. You have met them, but they're not the POV people. The POV character is Semi, and you will see why.
Well, we've met indirectly, I'll put it. We've met Semi and the Cassiopeia. But in Eos, we actually get to meet them.
Yes,
So
yeah.
that makes it a lot different.
Right, they're
Because,
characters on scene, and they're acting, and they're doing things, and they're doing things that lead up to the big reveal, the big action in Survive, and so on. So, and some of the other things, of course, you will be learning in Eos and the rest of the books. The ancient ark ship Vimana was the ship which was the main, kind of like ICS-2 level, ICS-1, the Imperial ark ship. It's a different structure, but you will learn all about the shape of the Vimana, which you have learned what that is. You know about the Atlantis Grail being a part of the resonance chamber, which was sheared off, taken to New Deshret. That's a part of that ancient ship, and it looks like a pea pod. And I think I've even shown this to you in the pictures in the companion, the Atlantis Grail companion, the guide. There's several pictures, kind of scribbles of that. I may have a better illustration of this later, because we need to get into the details of. The Vimana is like a pea pod. So it's sort of like a long elongated oval with 4 peas inside. And each pea is a huge habitat. You have yellow, green, blue, and red habitats. And then on the top, it's like a little stalk. And it comes up another circle that's outside the pea pod. And that's the resonance chamber. And when you cut it in half, you get the Atlantis Grail, that huge monument sticking above the earth. And the top part has been taken to New Deshret and stuck to a mountain like a big sphere. So that's the ship. And I hope that clarifies it, because I know a lot of people are still confused. What is that ship? What is going on? What's the Grail? The ship has been sunken into the earth. It's been driven deep underground. So all that's sticking out is the half of the resonance chamber cut off, which looks like a cup, because it's like that, and you have a stem and the bottom, and that's where it ends. It's the ground is covering the rest of the ship. So anyway, that's the shape, and you're going to learn so much more about what the 4 habitats are, what are the interactions between them, who are the people inside those habitats as it goes up. And not only does it escape Earth alone, you know, the Vimana, there are other ships. So that's not the only ship. You have other nobilities and, you know, ancient, kind of prominent ancients. And some non-prominent, some regular people get on them by accident, and the servants and the guards and the priests and so on. So you get all kinds of, it's like a political thing where you have people are vying to get on these ships. They want to get on, and what happens in qualify is a competition to get to qualify for rescue, right? What happens in the prequel series, you have a kind of competition too. We have service competitions. These people are competing to be servants that are included on these ships that will leave Earth. So you have qualification again. It's a different type of qualification, completely different. But that's a parallel. So in some ways, it is EOS and qualify are kind of like similar structure where people are trying to get off the disaster that's about to strike, because there's an ancient asteroid about to strike, and we know all about that. So all of that is being explored, and in some ways, it's going to be a lot of surprises for you. Although you already know, like you kind of know what happens in Survive, there's a lot of things will be like, oh, that's what that is. So, and
Well, the things that we know.
yes, the things
We
that
know
you
that the Cassiopeia family gets to Atlantis. We know that Semi gets to Atlantis. We know that Semi becomes an author, scribe. We know that Benetton's father was the architect who designed the special windows.
Well, you don't know about the name, unless you know the book, you don't know who that is, but you know that there was an architect. In Survive,
The name
right,
is
Bisfuri was Mutad Bisfuri was the name
Yes.
of the ancient architect who designed the palace. Now, he is a character in the prequel series, and his family and a lot of things that go on are important. So you will discover more about this architect, because he had one little tiny mention in Survive, but he's getting a big, you know, there's a lot of things happening.
we know that the Harrow family.
Yes, and the Harrow is the like the rivals of the Cassiopeia. They're on the opposite side of Atlantis, right? So you will learn what the ancient Harrow people are like, and how did they get up, how did they end up, you know, on their own ships or part of the Vimana and so on. So all of these things will be explained. Now, there are some things in Amrevet Days which are also kind of little nuggets of new stuff, and you will be, if you're reading that spicy stuff, in between the spicy, we do have some new nuggets. They will be kind of explored in the Book of Everything, of course, so you're not going to just completely miss it all. But already you're getting some new information that will kind of tell you about the ancient, especially some of the things that Atlanteans brought with them. Because when they left Earth, you know, they took all the stuff from the museums and the natural resources, and they stripped the Earth of orichalcum, which that's why Earth doesn't have orichalcum, right? So,
well, you know, they lost the ability to use it. So,
well, yeah, and because it's not really there, it's kind of like, and of course, orichalcum, if you are familiar, in real history, there is something called orichalcum, and it was some kind of like an alloy metal. I believe it's something like combination of bronze, either copper, bronze. It's basically a real metal that was attributed to be coming from Atlantis. And you can go to Google and type orichalcum, and it's a real thing. And they found some orichalcum things from shipwrecks in the ocean, which is real. That's happened. But again, the way we deal with orichalcum in the Atlantis Grail is obviously different. It has powers, it has properties of quantum, you know, it's quantum unstable, meaning that you can do all these things to it. So it can hover, it can make things levitate, and so on and so forth. So orichalcum, according to the Atlantis Grail, has been disappeared. Where did it go? they took all of it. So we find out why and how, and they've been stripping orichalcum from the earth, and it goes with them to Atlantis. But of course, same thing for gold. They have been stripping a lot of gold. And Earth has gold, but some of it gets taken with them. So, but the point is that a lot of these things are they're references to the original series. So you will get in-depth details and in-depth explanations. And I cannot wait for you to start reading Alice. Believe me, I want it to be ready right now, but just a little bit longer. Wait, keep waiting, just a little longer.
Okay, Vera, we're gonna change tactics here a little bit. Have you considered working on something that is not ag?
Okay, excellent question, because right now what we're doing is we're deep inside the world. We've been there for more than 10 years now, because I actually started to write tag somewhere in 2000, like beginning of 2000 and end of 2013 and beginning of 2014 is approximately where I started to write qualify. Now, of course, I have other projects that I would like to get out eventually, but because people like the Atlantis Grail, and they've been wanting to read this, and they don't really are not as interested in something else, because some of my other projects, the Supernatural Jane Austen series, which is very funny parodies of Jane Austen's books, mashups where you have the original text and then you include like supernatural elements. And that's been something that I've been working on. I have 3 books in the series, and if you check the video that we have, the reading that we posted on Friday during our Friday panel, I'm reading 2 chapters from Pride and Platypus, which is a completely unrelated to tag thing. It's hilarious Jane Austen parody.
I love that book.
Yeah, and that book has wacky things. It has illustration, it has crazy footnotes. And if you listen to that video when I do the reading, you will get a good flavor of it. So that series is a project still in the works. I would like to keep going with it. I have my next up in that series would be Pagan Persuasion, where you have persuasion meets ancient Greek gods and other things. So a lot of fun stuff in that series. Now, of course, you know that I have something called Cobweb Bride, which was it's an epic, kind of an epic fantasy about the Renaissance. Again,
Totally different from
yeah,
tag.
completely different. Think of death stops, and it doesn't take the souls anymore. So everybody's either a living like a zombie, or like you can't leave the earth. You're just wandering around, dead or alive. Everybody's there. So that's Cobweb Bride. And also their Greek gods, Hades, Persephone. And so all these things it's a completed series, but I like to write, I started writing more fantasy, because when I got into the Atlantis Grail, I was coming a lot from fantasy. So epic fantasy was kind of more my thing. I have another book that's called, in fact, that was my first published book, was called Dreams of the Compass Rose. And that is a book of they're short stories intertwined into one, like the 1001 Arabian Nights, the like the ancient kind of in the desert with the sands and the genies and stuff like that. Well, I have a book that's kind of that same flavor with an ancient world. It's all fantasy. And I was going to do a series because I have more in that. I can write Dreams of the Compass Rose was the first book. I think my second one was going to be called Gods of the Compass Rose. So we have more. And I would love to continue that. But, you guys don't want to read this as much as you want to be reading the Atlantis Grail. Then I have another project. I have something called Pantheon. And that one is sort of, you can get a flavor by reading one of my short stories that's out there. It's called Streets Running Like a River. Again, completely different. It's a little bit like an urban fantasy, but except it takes place in a world where every country is isolated from the other, and you're not allowed to use firearms. You can only use steel and swords, and so and it's called Streets Running Like a River. You can check it out. That takes place in Venice, where the main character is a woman swords mistress or swords master, and she's kind of older, so she's not a young main character, and she gets these apprentices, and she has to do all these things. And check that out. It's called Street Running Like a River, and I would love to have the whole series written because there's at least 3 books in that I can do. So I'm trying to think. Also, I have another one. I have something called, it's about a world without, there's only air. There's only debris floating in air. And that's called Air Realm, like Air Realm. So that was going to be a trilogy, and I've started writing. I have several chapters in that, but again, people are not interested in that as much. So what I gotta write is what you read, and that's kind of like we're gonna be doing the Atlantis Grail until that's done. So don't worry, I'm not going to switch to a different series and leave you hanging. So right now,
Vera, I'm
yeah,
getting some questions on chat
go for it. Go for it.
regarding orichalcum.
Okay.
Harriet was saying she wanted to know if there was orichalcum originally on Atlantis, the planet,
No,
or was the only orichalcum,
it was from Earth.
all of the orichalcum was from
Yes,
Earth?
it's all from Earth. None of it is, the colony planet Atlantis doesn't have orichalcum. It has gold. The colony planet has a lot of gold, so they didn't even need to bring gold. They brought some just, but orichalcum is from Earth. That's where that is.
Okay, because one of the questions, was after 9,000 years, they thought, it might have run out by now. So
Well,
did they learn how to synthesize it?
Basically, according to the lore of the Atlantis Grail, orichalcum, you don't just run out of it. It's a metal. You don't unless you use it in other alloys, you're not going to run out, and nobody does because they need it for itself. So
Unless you fry it.
Right, it gets recycled. For example, if you have a hoverboard made of orichalcum, they would strip the orichalcum if something went wrong or whatever, they would take it. So it's like a precious reusable resource. They don't mine it anymore. They just have it. And this is a part of why they're so paranoid about letting go of it. Remember on qualification, when they were saying, why don't you just give the hoverboard to Blaine, let him have, it's like, no, you're not giving any orichalcum to anyone. They're taking it all back with them because it's a precious resource, and Earth doesn't have any more. Atlantis doesn't have it, but it's not going to be used up. So whatever the amount they have is what they will have. I hope that answers it.
I think so. So it's a recyclable, and they are big on recycling.
Yeah.
I would think the only time it's not recyclable is when they fry it.
And you don't want to fry. That's the other thing. If you're frying orichalcum, you're doing a bad, and it's like a very uncommon thing to do. And that's why the skill to do that is very difficult. And it's not taught to most people. Only the Imperial Cassiopeia. And when Aeson taught Gwen that stuff, how to do that, that was a big surprise. And remember when they were in the games in the first stage, and she fried that little structure there inside, that was a big surprise. That's why they immediately changed the rules, because oh no, we can't, because she just destroyed this big amount of orichalcum. So yeah, you don't want to be frying orichalcum.
Well, not if it's a non-renewable.
Yeah, exactly. But again, things happen, eventually at this rate, maybe in thousands and thousands of years, they will run out of it. But,
Well, in almost 10,000 years, they still have some.
right,
so.
they still have a lot of it. And yes, it's still precious. It's hoarded. Everybody hoards this stuff. And you will really see it being hoarded in the prequel series, because as everybody's grabbing orichalcum before they leave, it becomes like oh my goodness, it's like a contentious thing. So people are fighting for orichalcum. So it's very, very important, and it is potentially you can potentially destroy out of it over the centuries, but by then maybe they will find another planet which has it and they can mine that because yes, it's yeah.
Another question was, do the Atlanteans, modern Atlanteans, know where the orichalcum came from originally? Do they know
Modern
that it came from
Atlanteans,
Earth?
yes, they do, because in fact, when they went to when they went to the site where the ancient Atlantis was, they were looking for any potential more orichalcum on Earth. That was one of the things they were doing on Earth. Besides, because when they sent the Earth mission to, remember, pick up all these fresh blood to fight, they also went to strip Earth some more. There was not a nice thing. They were there to look into everything, take all the treasures, take all the art. Besides art, they were looking into resources. So yeah, they were trying to, I think as we have mentioned this, during finals, when that explosion happened in the huge hub cavern, and they were doing two things there. One of them was they were trying to basically close the rift, as you remember that. The explanation that you get this explanation in Survive during the conversation in the Imperator's Red office when he's telling them that, so they were exploiting, and they blamed it on the Terra Patria, which is
Well, that they were a good
it was not Terra Patria, it was them. The Atlanteans were blowing things up, and they were still last minute. They were trying to close the rift, and they were trying to also find, because again, this is the location of ancient Atlantis, and they were hoping maybe there's some more orichalcum somewhere. Now, because
thinking that it could have been a renewable resource on Earth.
Right. And on Earth, now we leave this open-ended because wherever, according to our story, they stripped it as best as they could, but who knows? Maybe there's deeper under the mantle, or going under the crust in the mantle in the Earth, maybe there's some more orichalcum. We don't know that, but for now they have taken all they could. And
another question in this, basically in the same train of thought, is it a possibility the Atlanteans will figure out how to make their own or how to synthesize it?
Well, it's not really synthesizable. In other words,
okay,
in some ways, you could put, I'm trying to think if you could, because the idea is that it's a quantum unstable thing. So it's really hard to make, kind of like what is it, fusion, or just like on Earth, it's something that's really hard to come by anyway, and to have that, it's already unstable, and to create it, you may start blowing things up. You may get like volatile accidents and things. So
like they did with the Pegasi.
Pardon me?
Said like they did with trapping the Pegasi.
Okay. Well, yes. And of course, the Pegasi, you will learn a lot more about the Pegasi in the prequel series and what they can do, how they're, how to handle them. And of course, they came from the rift, and that in the original rift, you're going to find out how and why that rift came about, and you're going to learn some of the original Pegasi relationship, how they and the humans interacted and started to interact. So you will get more Pegasi, and there's a lot of fun things with Pegasi happening. So you will get good Pegasi exposure in the prequel series, and a lot more, even more than in the original series. So yes, and again, Pegasi are transdimensional beings. They come from the rift, from another dimension. They entered Earth because whoops, somebody opened the rift. And they're not supposed to be
I
here.
think I'm gonna poke my head out and see what's going on here. Oh crap, I got caught. Then the second,
and they get caught because Earthlings.
Where did so and so go? Oh darn it! Now I got caught.
Well, and the problem is because you may have been realizing that they're connected. A lot of the way they were used to line the black hole, that tunnel between, the rift tunnel. So basically, it's part of it is because they couldn't close it because of the way the connection, like the quantum entanglement between these creatures, because that's a part of that whole thing. So they're very interesting. The fabric of their being is kind of interesting. So they're quantum, they're transdimensional, and they came from the rift, or at least they entered our universe from the rift, and you will find out more about them. So fun stuff.
Well, that is lots of fun stuff. Now another question, and we still have lots more time here. Where can fans find out about your works in progress?
Well, new works in progress are usually posted. For example, you know that I have a website called theatlantisgrail.com, which is like the main informational place. So you go there for in-depth stuff about all the books, all the the wordage. When I write books, I post every day as I'm writing more, I'm posting different updates on how many words are in the whatever the work is written. And in that website, theatlantisgrail.com, you can see that. We have another website called tag.fan. Now, tag.fan is easy to remember because tag fans, right? Tag.fan. So that's like it's like a one-stop starting point, and it has links to the Atlantis Grill website, to my own website, and to places like the fan groups. If you're on Facebook, we have two good Facebook groups. We have Astra Daimon and Shoelace Girls. That's our main Facebook group. And we have the Atlantis Grail spoilers. The big difference is that if you want to talk a lot of spoilers in kind of things that are very recent works, then you really don't want to be doing it on the main group because people may
You
not
will
have
get
read the
deleted.
book. Right. So we go to the spoilers group for spoilers, and then you could do and you could do general discussion in the main group. So, and then we have the old forum, which some people don't like it because it's an old style technology. It's a BBS or bulletin board type
Well,
thing. The forum.
the forum for new users, I guess is the
Right.
proper word, can be quite overwhelming because
Yes.
it's been around for several years.
It's been around since probably or like
I
Nine.
know it was,
Compete. I think since Compete or I don't think
yeah,
Qualify, but Compete
it's
time.
pre-survive, it's pre-win and pre-survive.
Right, so it's around Compete when that
It
was out, I think.
started on February of 2016, if my memory serves
Oh,
me.
there you go. Okay, so that's around Compete. Yeah, I
So
was
9
still
years.
writing Survive. I was still writing Win, and Win is 2017. So
Mhm.
yeah, okay. So yeah, that has a lot of discussion on it, but not everybody wants to use that type of form. Now we also have. Do we want to talk about the new thing?
Nope, not
Not
yet.
yet. Okay, yeah. This is something you're gonna wait till the closing ceremonies for a big announcement about a new place. We have a new tag venue that's coming out, and we're not talking about it yet. So surprise, get ready for that, and be sure to be at the closing ceremonies for major announcements. So anyway, so right now you can find out about my current works from any of these places, and even on my personal Facebook, I post like the wordage. Like the most recent was a post about EOS being 1033 comma blah whatever the number was words. So, and if you want to find out exactly the number of words and what chapter it is, you go to either tag.fan and then click through to theatlantisgrail.com. And that one lists I have like a little bar, like a progress bar with how far I've written into whatever work, and you will see it right there. So that's how you can find out what I'm working on.
Vera, if you don't mind, I will do a share screen
Sure,
and
go for it.
show.
I'm going to show the website.
Okay. This is the Atlantis Grail site.
There you go.
Shows the original series.
And it tells you the status, which one's coming next, forthcoming, and so on. If available now, that means you already can get it.
Here you can sign up for the newsletter.
That's right, where it says notify me when books are out. That's right. Thank you for reminding me about the newsletter. Duh. So if
And
you want, yeah.
you know, the newsletter is an excellent place to find out about, because Vera doesn't, oh, well, it's such and such words. No, a newsletter is about once a month.
Yeah, it's about once a month, and what you do get is just like the current things that I'm working on, and you get also good things like if they're free books, if there's special promotions out there, and where I'm a part of them, I will post, and you can get, you can download free books, different genres, romance, science fiction and fantasy, whatever relevant books are. You can get, sometimes we have drawings and contests, especially for the holiday period. We have, during the December holidays, we usually have a contest. So, and you will find out in the newsletter. We also talk about what's to come. We show you cover reveals and, any good news. So anything that's going to be important and major, if you want to stay in touch with that, then you want to sign up for the newsletter. And you're not going to get it more than once a month, unless there's a really strange, rare occurrence, something big is happening, you may get 2 a month, but it's just once a month, and, it's pretty infrequent.
And here is the progress.
Yep. You get the progress bar, and then you get the most latest, whatever is happening. You can see that Amrivet Days 1 is finished, and in the meantime, I'm working on 2. So that's going to be, the new progress bar will pop up soon. And then you have other updates. So that's the book. If you click on it, it takes you to the website where, if you click on that thing, you're in the Amrivet Days website, which is separate because, again, I don't want to mix them. I don't want people to go there unless they're willing to look at that type of material. So I have all the buy links and all the options for you to grab the book, ebook, hardcover, paperback, and of course we're eventually going to be getting the audiobooks. So that's in the works. Yeah, if you want to go scroll down a little bit, and you can see keep going down. See, it says paperback, so all the different stores, international. If you're in Australia, UK, other places, Germany, France, there you go. You got places to buy. So it's an easy way to do it.
All right. Since I'm here, Vera, can you explain about your paid subscription services,
Sure.
Patreon and why you're using them?
Right. Basically, it's something that helps the author subsist while you're writing the books, because unlike another job, I'm a full-time author. I didn't always used to be. I had a day job, and right now I'm a full-time author. So all my income comes from people buying books or giving me stuff on Patreon, because what you're doing is it's like a little tip thing. You're giving a monthly little help in exchange for getting to read my chapters as I'm writing them. So you're getting advanced exposure to EOS, Amrivet Days, anything else. I even have things like Easter eggs for some higher tiers. I give you kind of surprise Easter eggs that are included in the series. I give you things like as the tiers go up, if you're familiar with the way that works, Patreon, these type of platforms, author offers the readership different levels of support. So if you support me at $3, $3 a month, that's the basic level. You get all the general audience books. I'm also posting things like we're going to be serializing the Zodiac, because Atlantean Zodiac is quite different than the Earth one. And there are 16 signs, and each one has meaning, and you can sort of do personality. If you want to convert your birth date on we have the birthday or the calendar website. the tag calendar. You can find out your birth date in Atlantean dates. So once you have that, then you can find out your Atlantean sign, your Atlantean astrology sign. And that is going to be serialized on Patreon and Ream. Because before we do it, I just want to, I think we have only one right now. We have one sign posted there. But so then I have things like on Patreon, we give you options for like, if I have a poll where you can give me suggestions for what to write next. Like you literally can affect my chapters in Amrita days. So if I give you choices of things and you tell me what you want, so you can
Yeah,
literally.
we were able to name the critter.
Yes,
the cat.
there's a critter, there's a new critter in Amrita days. If you read the book, you know what that is. And that critter has a name, and the name has been chosen by you. So you can do that. And that's part of the things that the advantages. You are helping me create this book, and you're helping me in fun ways where, a name. So a choice of location or a choice, something like that. So it's little fun things that you can affect. So Patreon is basically, it's helping me write because I have, except for books coming out, there's no other income. Writers don't have income. We have sales of books and we have to wait a long time between books as we're producing them. And in the meantime, think of the old days when they had patrons of the arts. That's basically what that is. You're helping this being created. And I thank you very much for everybody who is supporting me, at $3 or
Is
$1 or $2.
either are they equal, different? Does it matter?
Yeah, they're almost the same thing. The only difference is on the chapters are all the same, but if you want to be on the polls where you have the opportunity to influence some of the stories in different ways, then you want to be on Patreon. And if you want to get the different Easter eggs, like nuggets of little secret stuff, then you want to be on Ream. So that's about the only difference. It's only at level 3 of support. So if you're just on level 1 or 2, it doesn't, absolutely, you can just stay on either one of them is fine. And
One of the fans here wants to know if there's any possible translations into different languages. Any news
okay,
on
that's
that?
a great question. Thank you so much for asking. And I've been meaning to do that. And the thing about translations is, just like with audio, you have to find the right publisher, the right type of, they're not easy. I don't want to give you one thing I want to say up front. I refuse to use AI, artificial intelligence. I do not. No, no, no. I will not give you I will not do AI translations, AI audiobook, none of that. I do even cover art. I have used by accident, I think two AI images in my promotions because the person just gave, I didn't know what that was. Since then, I do not do anything with AI, not even promotional stuff anymore. So I think I had two images of Asen and Zell. They were AI generated. And I didn't know that. I didn't know better. So, right, I don't care. I don't care if they're neat or fun or good looking pictures. I am not going to use AI because I just do not, until the industry is stable, the laws are set for how to, I don't know what's happening with AI in the future, and we'll talk about some of that in the authors panel coming up at the roundtable. So we'll talk about it a little bit, but we're not going to do that at all. And, it just, whatever is being done, it's all me, all artists, all, real people working on stuff. So anyway, what was I saying before that? What was the question? See, that's how AI threw me because I really hate it. I'm really not for it. So
Doing translations of the books.
yeah, thank you. Translations. Yeah. So with translations, I would have to find the really good translator, be German. And I think my first translation would be German. I would need to find a really qualified translator. And also they're kind of expensive. So I need to see if I can work through a publisher or, some other arrangement where I don't have to shell out thousands and thousands of dollars, because that's what you do. if you don't have an actual publisher deal with a foreign rights translation situation, you have to pay for so many thousands of dollars, and I don't have that kind of money. So I would love to have it right now, but we'll see. So that is definitely a plan in the works at some point, and I would love to do maybe French, some other kind, whatever other popular translations are, but probably starting with Germany. So German is going to be my first priority. But that is an excellent question. Thank you for asking that. So
Does anyone else have any questions that we haven't answered yet?
now I have a quick kind of an explanation that audiobooks, that's another kind of a big project to do. And I have a deal. I signed, I am signing, basically it's a 3-volume contract for Amrivet Days, and then eventually when EOS comes up, that's also going to be a contract, but that's going to be an audiobook. So you are going to get audiobooks for Amrivet Days with all the spicy stuff. Yes. Yep, it's going to be hot. So audio deals are coming up, and of course, EOS will have its own audio deal, and it takes much longer. So I cannot, when I release the book, for example, in paperback, in ebook, I can't just have an audiobook right there because that's not how it works. I have to wait for it to be created. So it takes much longer. We're talking, I'm thinking maybe at least 3 to 4 months from now is when we can start thinking about the audiobooks. So it's going to be
Well,
created,
the book
recorded.
needs to be created.
Well, yeah, the first book is created.
The narrator needs to be selected. The narrator has to read the book, and hopefully ask you questions on how do I pronounce
Pronunciation,
these
yes.
words. Yeah, and they're done correctly.
Right.
And so there's I would imagine there's a lot of work involved.
Right, that's a lot of work. And I am at the stage right now where we're still about to choose narrators. So we're dealing with narrators for Amrivet Days. And we will probably, I'm not sure if we can get the same narrators because you never know. It's like the publisher has to work things out. And so we may have completely different narrators. Hopefully they will be excellent because I do have a choice of narrowing down. And usually the publisher gives me several options so I can listen to them and see whichever sounds better. So that's going to be a while and several months to go. And then once once it's recorded, then I will make a big announcement saying audiobooks are here, So
Another question, aside from Patreon and Ream, what other ways can your readers support your efforts between publications?
Thank you so much for asking. Great question, because I can always use your help. Now, one thing you can do, obviously, besides buying my books, if you can talk about them. And what I mean by that is tell your friends, go to social media, any platform you use. For example, if you're on Facebook, on TikTok, Book Talk, if you're on Instagram, post about it. Say, I've read this book series. I enjoy it. Here it is. Just post the covers. Talk about it. I would love for you guys to do that. So if anybody is up to that type of thing on whatever, and don't go out of your way. You don't have to go on fancy, if you have never been on TikTok, Book Talk, you don't need to go on to it. Just whatever you're on right now, use that to tell somebody who might like that type of book about it. And that's the best thing you can do for me. So I would appreciate it so much. And of course, if you read the books and you want to leave a review, that helps a lot. So, and please leave an honest review. If you did not quite like something, that's okay. So be honest in your reviews, put them on Amazon, anywhere you like, anywhere you might review your books. Products reviews are important for whether it's books or, any other stuff. So as you know, everybody will always ask you for reviews, and the same thing goes for authors. So reviews, talk about the books, get onto TikTok, get onto Instagram, make a reel. Reel is one of those little victories. If you have a copy of the book, for example, we're gonna talk without this screen, I can't show you. This is a copy of the special edition of and you can't see it very well, sorry. This is special edition of Ace and Cass, which was the other book that I had to work on. And I forgot to mention it. Yeah, besides Qualify, we have Ace and Cass, which is a combination of the two Ace and novellas in one volume. So it has pretty sprayed edges, gold, shiny foil. It has a beautiful, beautiful interior, which is let's see if I can show you without my little background getting in the way. Ah, there we go. Look at
Yeah,
that.
you have to put it
Beautiful
right in
gold
front of
foil. Yeah, look at that. It's just gorgeous. So it's like these books show, if you have them, if you bought these books, if you bought the Qualified Special Edition, how about making a little, take a picture of it, make a little video and put it on TikTok or Instagram, even Facebook, whatever. So all of that helps, and I really appreciate it. So you guys are wonderful for asking this. Thank you so much, because, authors have a hard time getting the word out. There's a lot of books out there. We're all, it's not really competition against the books because we're all in the same boat, but there's a lot of we're competing for your attention. So people might want to watch TV instead of reading. So
okay, another question. Do you use consultants in your world building research, or just more recent written resources?
I've consulted with NASA people. I've consulted with experts. I've taken I have an Egyptology course from Harvard. I've taken a special, so I've done a lot of things. Plus, of course, there's the regular research. So besides talking to people in the specialization areas, I've Googled and gone to Wikipedia and gone to other resources, websites. And after putting everything together, I kind of, I isolate the information to what's relevant, what's nonsense, because there's a lot of nonsense out there on the internet. You can't just trust your first, you don't just do research by looking at one, two things. So you got to check things. So you check actual good if you can. I have lots of Egyptology books, actual good material, and you put it all together, and then that becomes your kind of the fundamental part underlying your be technology or historical detail. So all of that, yep, I've done it all. And I continue doing every day. Like recently somebody asked me, what was I doing with the tunnels, those ancient tunnels of Atlantis, the ones that you've discovered in Qualify during finals week, finals, the competition. So I had to look. So I'm doing things about those tunnels, and I'm looking into them right now because, again, more in-depth stuff. So there you go.
Well, it's never I'm assuming, it's not just, type, because you do have to stop and get the research. Now, a question, and this is kind of a silly one, but why don't you just, okay, well, I'm going to need this, and this, and I'm going to do all my research now. Why do you have to stop in writing and then have to do some research?
Because the questions arise in the process of writing. It does, like, you wouldn't even know what to look up unless you got to see. I'm a pantser. I want to remind people that there's two types of authors. There's the plotters and the pantsers, which is just a kind of a funny way to say an author who does preliminary outlining and then strictly follows their outline to get all that stuff out there, or an author who organically creates the story as it happens. And there are many surprises and things along the way. I am in that second group where when I write, I don't know the details. I know where it's going in generally speaking. Like I know that we have to get on the ships and blah, 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 so-and-so had orichalcum. But the details of like who meets who and how, all that stuff develops in the process of the story. And then suddenly I'm like, oh no, I have to find out if I do this and this, and if this character meets that, would they have to do, so I have to go and start researching that aspect of the story. So research grows organically out of the story as it happens. That's why I constantly stop and I'm like, oh no, the tunnels. I have to look up this and in geological terms, what kind of pockets does the earth have? It's like, okay, then we're done. Then we go on with the story. So, you know, that's how it works.
I sort of envision it as a cross-country United States trip. Okay, you're starting in Vermont, and you're coming to me in St. Louis. Well, you're driving the car, and you know where you want to end up,
Right.
but it's getting there. Well, along the way, there's, oh, well, okay, I can stop here and visit this. So I'll spend a couple of days here and visit this.
Right.
But there's a lot of stuff along the way that you can stop and visit.
Right, exactly. And then you have to look things up. For example, how, if I want to stop at this to see this thing, I have to find out how to get off this road. So the details, that's the research. Like, how would I get off on that little route and go to that restaurant or that museum or the whatever? So that's the detail which you research as it happens. Because until you got to that general area, you didn't know you were going to stop. You thought maybe I could stop here or there. So when you make that choice, that's when the research decides, and then you start
For
researching.
example, there might be a billboard about, you know, about some, oh, I want to go see that.
Sure, exactly. Like you didn't even think you wanted to, but you did because that's there, and you're like, oh, cool. So same thing with the story. That's how I write it, and that's, to me personally, that's what makes brings the story alive. Because when you don't even know what's gonna quite happen, it's so much more exciting. If you're like if you plot the whole thing out, personally speaking, I would be bored. I couldn't write that. Like I literally would be like, my brain would just go flatline if I do that. So I cannot plan. I have to keep writing on the fly and get surprised myself with little fun things that happen.
So in other words, to quote this, I remember this in an episode of Voyager. It's not the destination that counts; it's the journey.
Yes, the journey. And
How
it's
you
always
get there.
and sure, the destination is important. That's like the big plot points of as you're going from here to there to there. But how to get there, that's the fun. How the characters interact as you're getting there. What new characters show up and take over or not, or you know, so that's the fun of the story. And you know how they say that there's only so many plots in all the world. There are not that many stories out there. There's certain basic plots that every writer just kind of repeats, and that's how it works. Storytelling is just, you know, a few basic plots, but all the detail is what makes it unique. So it's always about the detail that makes it fun, unique, surprising. You know, that's what that is. Entertainment for you.
Are there any other final questions from anybody? Oh, okay. I do have a question. Has any character's arc ever taken you by surprise? Like you thought they might be minor, but they grew into the story.
Oh yes. This is the story of my creative life. Every single, like, I never know what I start out with one little thing, and sometimes the character blows up and becomes a really pivotal character. And it's so much fun because you just like as you're writing them, you're discovering things that this is a possibility and that's a possibility. And oh my goodness, and this person can do this and that. And then they become this big major character. So yes, almost every single character. I think in Tag, when I started to read, I knew I was gonna have a main male character. I was gonna have Gwen, of course, her family, but pretty much everybody else just kind of popped up. That's how little planning I do because it's not fun. Because I know there's going to be Atlanteans. I knew there were going to be, you know, Earth people in the competitions and other contenders in the games of Atlantis Grail, but they just kind of popped up because we needed a hero, we needed a friend, we needed an enemy, we needed this and that and this. So they just create themselves and they take over and they do their little whatever their fun activities. So I love it. I love that part. And I think you guys do too.
Another question is, will you be doing any book signing tours?
Great question. Now, at this point this year, I don't think so because I am completely trying to finish this book. You know, I think you would rather have me finish AOS fast than going on some tours. But in the you know the coming year, I'm hoping that we may even have something like a Worldcon type of like you know what a Worldcon is. It's like a big convention, except it's going to be a TagCon in person. So hopefully we will have somewhere probably in the United States, not in Greece. Although thank you, Liz, we had a lovely Greece TagCon. You know, this time we're probably going to be in the United States, although we wish we could take the Greek island with us. So I would love to tell you if there's any events or any place that I'm going on a plane or driving, I will post and I will let you guys know about it because sometimes things come out of nowhere and you know I suddenly I have a conference to go to and I will be there. And you know,
Well, you did the Las Vegas.
yeah, I did the Vegas because again it came out. I was presenting some things and you know if you were there in Vegas, you could have come up and said hi and gotten your book signed. So that's the way to do it because that's how I don't do any bookstore signings really because these books are not in stores. I'm an indie author and bookstores don't like indies. You know, it's sad. It's a sad situation. In order for our books to show up in bookstores as a standard, like in Barnes and Noble, you have to make books returnable. So if I'm a big publisher, I can financially handle like returns because all books get returned all the time. If I'm a small person or a small press, if I get hundreds of returns, I can't handle that. So I can't offer returns. And if I don't do that, bookstores will not carry books. Okay? So bookstores don't like indie authors unless they're just have special arrangements with them, which usually you cannot get them. So for me to have a book signing in a bookstore is just, you know, not really feasible. There may be events, for example, some expo or a convention where everybody brings their books and everybody writes, and that happens, then you can find me. But there's just nothing planned. Like if I choose some Vermont bookstores, it's just not a good because they're not going to want to do that, unfortunately. But if there's anything, I will let you guys know. I will post it everywhere. I will put it in my newsletter. So be sure to subscribe to my newsletter to get all this information. Go to there's a link off every website, or you can go to veranazarian.com/signup.html. So veranazarian.com/signup.html, and you can sign up for my newsletter. So
I will let folks know that you will find in Discord a tab called Handy Links. And that tells you a lot of the different places, not only the stores, but where you can find more information.
right. Yeah, and good thing. Thank you for mentioning store. I forgot. There's a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot. I can't remember everything. So we have a new store where you can buy these guys and the special 10th anniversary books as they come out, and you can get bundles. Like if you have friends and you want them to start reading Tag, probably the best thing to do for a great discount, 40% off on ebooks, a bundle, you can buy it from my store directly from me, not from Amazon, not from whatever. And it's called, the website for my store is veranazarianbooks.com. Very easy.
And that is on Discord.
Yeah. And it's
The link is
wherever
on
you're
Discord.
listening. Perfect. So hopefully that answers. So there's a lot of stuff. Like I just can't. I have so many things happening right now with the book and all these releases and the different, the different stores and the 10th anniversary. So it's like But number one priority. So anybody who is waiting for EOS, this is it. That's next. There's nothing else to do, and EOS is coming.
Vera, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you guys so much.
And we're going to go ahead and end this session so that we can take a little break before our next session, which will be at 12 o'clock noon Eastern. And that will be in the Shesset Bar in Fishtown, where we'll have a writers roundtable.
That's right, Writers Roundtable. We talk about the publishing industry, whatever is happening right now. Good stuff.
So thank you very much, everybody, and hopefully we'll see you in a few minutes.
See you. Thank you, guys.